advice on how best to manage agents safely?
I would say start simple. Do not begin with a sprawling multi-agent network. Start with a single agent and kind of a traditional workflow to just establish a cadence.
That is some really good advice. Now, Adam, normally I would ask you for some good advice, but not at this moment. I would like you to give me some bad advice on managing agents safely.
So I'd say find the most privileged token you can find, shove it in your MCP config, hard code it right there, spin up a codex -- YOLO and let it rip.
Chaos ensues. All right.
Chaos ensues.
Steve, can you one up that? Can you give me worse advice on managing agents?
Treat them like you treat your humans and give them access to everything.
There you go. Then multiple chaos. All right, let's start this show.
Get ready. It's Super Cyber Friday.
Welcome, everybody, to Super Cyber Friday. My name is David Spark, and today's topic is hacking agentic access, an hour of critical thinking about the new world of NHI, non-human identities. And I know many of you, because I know Howard Holton jumped about this, said, hey, NHI and agents, not the same thing. We're going to address that. It's going to be our first question, so hang tight before you jump down my throat. All right, our guest today, Adam Ochayon, who's the Director of Product Strategy and GTM go-to-market for Oasis Security, and one of your favorites and mine, Steve Zalewski, the co-host for Defense in Depth. All right, our huge sponsor for today is Oasis. Thank you, Oasis, for making this episode happen. All right, lots of ways to participate. Most of you already know it. It's the chat room. You've discovered it already. Please just let it go in the chat room. We really want your thoughts there. Submit tips on how to safely manage access for agents. All I want you to do is just go 10p or 10 with the % sign. That's it. That's how you do it. Just the 10p. That's all we want. Join us on video with Bring Me On. We don't often get people coming on video. If you type Bring Me On, we'll try to get you on. Ask questions of our guests and vote for your favorite question. So the question bubble, if you look in the upper right or on the icons inside, there's a speech bubble with a question mark in it. That is how you ask a question. All right. Today's schedule, common before, 10% better. We want to know that, how to safely manage access for agents. We will play the public interest. We will play which password is more popular, and that one you could win a prize from the CISO Series store. Last questions and answers, and then we will have our meetup. If you have never come to our post-show meetup, I am talking to you directly. I would like you to come because we would like to meet you in person. It's a chance to have face-to-face conversation with people. You know how to do that, don't you? Those of you working from home. All right, next week, we're going to be talking hacking the analyst firms, an hour of critical thinking about how vendor rankings get made and who they're really for. If you look at the bottom of the screen, there is a big wide button. You can click on that at any time and register for next week's event. It will not take you out of this event. You'll still be in this event, and you can register for next week's event. And let me also remind you once again, please stick around. On that. Please stick around for our meetup. We will do that. All right, let me narrow that. All right, now let's get to today's topic at hand. And Adam, because there was a complaint last week about us equating NHIs with agents, let's clear the air. Please explain the difference between the two so we do not make that mistake or we don't confuse our audience in believing that that's the case.
Yes, let's get right into it. And thanks for having me, by the way. So yeah, this is the nomenclature, I think, and the terminology obviously gets mixed up frequently. And I'll say I think it's a separation between the identity that grants access and the actor, right? So a non-human identity, the canonical example we all think of is a service account, an API key, a token, right? This is a digital construct, so to speak, that grants you access to a system, authenticates you, and provides authorizations into a specific system. An AI agent is an actor, right? So when an agent needs access to a system, it will often rely on other identities, right? So the agent itself might have its own non-human identity that grants authentication and gives them access to specific systems, right? So the two are related, but not quite the same. They're
working together, it sounds also too.
Exactly, yes.
All right. Steve, are you happy with that definition?
No.
Really? Let's hear it.
Okay. Non-human identity historically is a service account. It is something that I can't assign to a human. And that is what we're playing with. APIs and extension. Okay. What we're getting to now with agents is digital identities. They are a synthetic identity or a digital twin where it actually has rights and entitlements and an independence. And that is something a year ago we never considered, this conversation of a digital twin or a synthetic human. And that is where we're now understanding that language. And I go, that's the transition and why it's such a difficult journey.
I will say that your two definitions do play well together. All right. So let's get to our questions. By the way, our audience, get your questions in. And by the way, love all the responses in the chat room, so keep it coming. As I always say, half of the show is what's going on in the chat room as well. All right. But I have a question for you, and this is about our history. So if we never fully solved NHI governance for service accounts and API keys, which debate that if you will, why do we think we're going to be able to handle agents, which is yet another level of complication to this discussion? Adam, you were smiling because I'm sure this has come up in conversations. Yes?
Sure, absolutely, all the time, right? And again, if you think of being able to control access specifically, the problems are not very different. They've just really exacerbated now with agents. The scale has gone up, the speed has gone up, and I think the gap between a theoretical risk and an actual problem has really collapsed, right? Mm-hmm. So I think if the question is, what makes us ready to necessarily secure agents, maybe we're not as ready as we would have loved to be, right? In this case. But I think as Steve kind of said earlier, starting with the foundations, keeping it simple, building from there, I think that's the right way to go. I do agree with that.
All right, Steve, what would you add to this?
What I would say is, whether we're like it or not, AI is like having a baby. We can debate whether it was a good idea or not, but everybody wants it.
In 9 months it's coming, whether you like it or not.
Like it or not. And so what we have to do is learn what we did well and not, and we better figure out what we have to do new to just be able to handle the fact that AI is just, it's a beautiful little baby and everybody is going to want to be all over it. It just is what it is.
All right. Hold it. I don't know if I can actually do this. I don't know if that's going to take. All right. So, my God, questions have already come in, and let's start asking them. All right. Murad's question is, all right, this is going to be cut off, so I'll read the whole thing. We used to grant service account permissions based on predictable application behavior. If an AI agent has the autonomy to choose how it solves a problem, how do you enforce least privilege without breaking the agent's actual usefulness? Are we going to see a world where AI agents need their own HR identity profiles, background checks, and automated termination protocols when they exhibit rogue behavior anomalies? You are both nodding your heads. Okay, if that's all true, this sounds like this is going to be a tantamount task. Either one of you jump in on this one. Steve, you want to go first?
Sure. So what we have here is an 11-year-old savant. Okay? It's an early stage teenager. It's incredibly bright. We don't know how good it can be, but it also tends to hyper-focus on a task. And when it does that, it oftentimes will violate what we call our social norms or common sense. Okay? That's the challenge we have right now. And so how do we do that? Because it's going to eventually get older and smarter and wiser, but that's part of what we're figuring out is, what do the security controls look like to be able to curve it back in when it gets a little too hyper-focused on a task?
Yeah, I think it's. I was nodding before because I think this is a really great point, and it actually, I think, brings into focus a lot of what I hear when I talk to customers and prospects, which is, hold on, like we're trying to manage identities, and the tools in which we understand how to manage identities are the tools we've used for humans for decades, right? We need to put them in some HR system. We need to register them and account for them. We need to be able to manage them moving around, and we need to be able to terminate them on the way out. And I think that approach is just not going to work for agents. That's what makes this challenge that much harder, because again, the pace at which agents operate is very different. The ephemerality is obviously there. And I think another point that is important and relevant, some of these agents are, let's call it multi-purpose. And so one day you might have a task that requires access to A. Another day you might have a task that requires access to B. Both might be very, very valid. But in that sense, it becomes very difficult to be able to manage, or to be able to predict the behavior, right? So I do think that this is the crux of the question. How do we keep agents least privilege without really understanding, their job code, so to speak, in the human language? And I think the solution to that, by the way, is we need to be able to set the guardrails around what agents absolutely should not be able to do, in which deviation, requires us to terminate, take action, but also provide the flexibility in the agency there for the agents to be able to do what we are planning for them to do, right? Otherwise, an agent with no agency has no use to us.
All right, good point. I'm gonna pause this because I realize we need to give away a prize to the people who shared this episode to bring all the nice people to this. So just so you know, if you share our episode, you get a coupon code to buy anything you want from the CISO Series store. Look at this. All the wonderful things. Again, I don't think we've given away the onesie yet. And they do not come in adult sizes. Sorry, Steve.
Does it shift colors in real life as well?
That would be cool. Like a mood ring. That would be awesome. Be cool. In fact, the onesie, like if they pee in themselves, what color would it change?
An adult onesie.
All right, let's put up the wheel. What this is you're going to see all the names of people who shared this episode. What you can do is if you share next week's episode and specifically tag CISO Series so we can see it, if you share, you'll be on this wheel next week, okay? So go ahead, Josh, spin the wheel. Let's see who won for this week. Wait, I think he's here. Is it going to go to... No, it stays on Rob. Paul Lanzi was so close. Rob, I don't know Rob who. Hopefully Rob's here. If not, sometimes it's not. But Rob will get a coupon code to get anything they want. Not to worry, everybody. There is another opportunity to win something from the store in our second game that we're going to play today. So stick around for that.
Paul was robbed. It's rigged.
Paul's. Do not come in adult size. It needs to be the promo for this episode. Good job. Here, let me post that. Very funny, Paul. All right, let's get, where are we right now? You know what, let's do this. Let's put up the game and I'm going to ask the next question. So I'll give people a couple of minutes to go. So let's put up the game right here. So this is, so everyone go to kahoot.it, all right? And you're going to type in this code number. And I know it's going to take everybody a little while, so we're going to ask the next question as you guys all get in. And I'm going to get in myself because I did not create this game. So just everyone do that, kahoot.it, and enter. And I'm getting in there right now. My name should pop up in a second. Hopefully. God willing. Is it coming in? There I am. Okay. All right. Now, let me go to the questions because we got a couple of good questions that just came in. Let me ask this one from Paul Lanzi. Should agents be short-lived so they don't carry persistent access? This is someone who was in privileged access management, Paul Lanzi. Or long-lived so behavioral analyst solutions can model what is normal for a given agent and stop it when it goes rogue. This is actually a really good question. You are compelled by the power of Spark not to say it depends. Yeah, I give people crap on that, but that's usually when we're playing games. I think you can totally play it depends here. This is actually a great question. The initial reaction is, well, no, just short-lived, but you do want to know what normal is. So I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Adam, and I bet you've seen both play out, yes?
I have seen both played out. And I think without saying it depends, I think what's important to say here is we think of agents as a monolith. And agents are not one thing. They do not come in one shape. And I think what might be relevant and important here is that different agents might need different type of access, right? So for example, an agent that is routinely autonomously running a specific task might need that long-standing access that we're able to curtail over time and monitor and analyze for any modification in behavior or anomalies. But an agent that is running on a delegated use case and requires access to some specific system, that should absolutely be just in time, no standing access, just enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, not saying this, it depends. I think there are two modes of agents, and each one of them has the most correct answer.
Steve, what would you add to this? And by the way, just so everyone knows, once Steve's done, we're playing this game, so get in. Go ahead.
All right. So I go, if agents are based on language processing, okay, which is what we do with LLMs today, then we want the ephemeral ones. As we move more towards world models, where there's a lot of context, because we're trying to do cognitive analysis, I think that's when you're going to want stateful conversation. So I actually think we're on a journey where our current kind of capability is we want the ephemeral version of LLM.
All right. Everybody looks to be in. Let's start this game. Again, this is the public interest. Let's hear the music.
Do you know what others are thinking? On the public interest.
All right. Essentially, we want to know which term is searched more on the internet, and it's not just cybersecurity people. It's
this game kills me.
So the thing is, this term could have multiple meanings.
Oh,
non-human identity. I like that.
Very clever.
I don't know.
that was.
Oh,
really
I got it
good.
right. I can't believe I got it right. I thought it might be non, but all right, I got it right.
What is
Right.
the answer?
Human. Human was the correct answer.
Ooh,
Look at there. I'm number 4. So here's the thing. I've never, by the one, won this at all. It is very difficult to get 4 for 4 correct. For those of you who are not familiar with this, it is you have to be correct first, fast second. That's how you get up high on the score. So try to be right and quick. All right, let's go to the next one. The total of 4 questions. That was number 1. This one good. Network host inventory. These are good ones. I'm 2 for 2.
I'm on a
Doing
roll.
well.
You know,
It's gonna
I
be-
think
it's
your
gonna be
AI
me-
agent is
you
too
on the way to the
good,
top.
David.
You and Suzanne.
Right. So we're very close, me and Suzanne. And by the way, we're only playing for bragging rights on this one. Next one, we actually have a prize for the next game. I am 3 for 3. I'm on fire today. Couldn't be happier. Hold it. Am I moving? This is get a screenshot of that.
Look at this.
Look
Is
at this.
this
I'm going to lose
Now-
my mind if I go 4 for 4 here.
I'm wondering if this is the real David we're seeing or not. You know what I mean?
Rich
This
wants
might be
me
a
to
deep
stop.
fake because he's never been this good. Okay,
I've never. This
Just
is
saying.
look. I'm on every episode except for the ones that Rich has hosted. Oh my God! Look how much insurance is over everybody else. I just assumed everyone has insurance, and there's lots of.
You
different
might want
kinds
to
of
buy a
insurance.
lottery
It's
ticket today.
I know. All right, I can't blow it. Here we go. All right, God, I hope I got this one right. I'm not feeling confident. This game is invalid. I blew it. I blew it.
Oh.
I blew it. I picked intelligence like most of us. You know, I knew it was wrong because usually the word you can't spell, most people can't spell, is usually does not succeed because I'm sure there's a lot of
Really?
misspelling. Hamster.
Wow.
Look at how much
Probably
hamster-
Ninja Warrior taking all the traffic.
Look at how much ninja and hamster is over. That is shocking how much ninja
Hamster.
and hamster is over.
I don't even want to
intelligence.
know why hamster is number 1. Okay, I just,
Well, hamster. There's a long running joke. Hamster as a service on this show. Suzanne, 2 out of 4. Oh, wait a second. Could I be
There
the
we
winner?
go.
Hold it. You and me, Adam, 1 and 2. Holy crap.
Beautiful.
That is huge. Paul, good job with fourth. Well, that is a first for me. My God, was incredible. All right, everybody keep your Kahoot windows open because we are going to be using the platform again to play our next game. So just keep that window open for the next game. All right. Now, we've been talking about NHI and we've talked about agents, and I want to just take a moment, Adam, talk about what you guys at Oasis have been doing in this, what you've seen, what your experience, and what it is you're offering. So the floor is yours.
Awesome. Great. So yeah, so at Oasis, we're built to help organizations manage access in the agentic era. And that includes, we talked about how the two terms are related, but maybe not exactly the same, but that includes the non-human identities that we've now been accustomed with. These are the service accounts, API keys, principals, applications, tokens, etc. And of course, also agents and their access. And I think the challenge, right? We're all pretty familiar with this at this point, but the challenge is we have all these actors that are now in every organization completely outpacing the human actors, right? So if we had one human in an organization, we might have 45, 82, 100 and whatever. The number changes every week. I don't think the number is what matters. I think it's clearly orders of magnitude more non-human actors than human actors in the organization. And the question becomes, how do we manage their access securely? How do we understand what access even exists in the organization, discover it? How do we find gaps between what currently exists and the organization's policy, what should be correct? And how do we move organizations on the journey to closing that gap, which could be establishing ownership. It could be deactivating access that is no longer needed. And it could be figuring out how do we grant an agent only the access it needs, only for the scope of time it needs it. So that's kind of the spectrum that we operate in.
So essentially, like everything you just described are all the questions people have been asking around agents. Like you went through the laundry list of it there. All right. So this is what we're going to do for you, our audience, and we do this with our sponsor guests. We love to do this. If you look on the right-hand side, there's a series of icons. One that looks like a small bar chart. Click on that now, please. Everybody click on it. You will see a poll. Either one of you enter. If you would like a nice warm handoff to Oasis Security, and my guess is the topic of managing agents and NHI has come up. And these questions that Adam just sort of listed off, that has come up. If you want to talk to someone who's been dealing with this a lot, please go to the poll and answer either one of them. And what we'll do for you is on Monday, we're going to make a warm handoff. Make it super easy for you to get introduced to the fine people over at Oasis and just learn from what they know. Geez, that's simple as that. They know plenty. They've seen plenty. And go check it out. All right, let's get to our questions at hand. There's still more. I got 2 questions, but please keep throwing them in. In fact, Logan's got both of the questions in. Let's start going with this one. From Logan, what preventative and detective controls should be used to govern AI agent access, including least privilege, task scoped authorization, confidentiality protections, and audit logging? So this is just sort of some mechanics, nuts and bolts here. I'm going to ask you first on this one, Adam, is I'm sure it's not all one thing. What is it?
Yeah, it's definitely not all one thing. And I do like the question in that it frames the preventive and the detective, right? So there's what happens before the agent acts and after the agent acts. And I think, as I kind of said before, first of all, before the agent acts, one is we need to be able to identify what the agent is doing, which is not always that easy when we're just giving the agent our own access. I read a blog recently from AWS where they're saying, listen, we've heard from our clients, and I see it in our pool of clients as well, that organizations are just struggling to separate between the agentic traffic and the human traffic because they're using the same identities behind the scenes. So I think the first step is make sure you are able to establish that separation. What is the agent? What is the human, right? And you do that by granting them their own identities. In terms of the, just to add to that, I think on the preventative side, I think the challenge here, as we've already discussed with least privilege, is how do we give the agent only the access it needs? And again, I think the good place to start is with the more simple use cases, right? So there are certain things that every organization probably knows an agent shouldn't be able to do. I think what we've seen, by the way, as a pattern is it's helpful to start with taking those very elevated privileged access, or even just saying, hey, write access as a whole. Let's not let our agents do that for now. And over time, we'll be able to learn the patterns, build, and enable from there. So I think it's mixing that, being able to understand what the agent identity is, being able to trace it in our systems, being able to control the access and limit the access first from what's really sensitive. I think that's kind of like how I'd start. From there, again, it's being able to map the agents in the organization, understand what is and isn't happening, and slowly building the governance policies around them and working to enforce them.
All right. Good answer. It was an involved question, so I appreciate you taking the time through it. Steve, how would you deal with this? Because it's a lot of different things.
Yeah. So as a CISO, what I say is I think of AI like having a cold. Okay. I can't cure it. What I can do is treat the symptoms. So I look at my business and I go, so there's different things I can do, right? And so is it a sore throat? Is it a headache? Is it an earache? Is it aches and pains? Like, what is it that I need to address for the business to be able to kind of put them in a good place? So at that point, what is brilliant at the basics for the security controls? In some cases, it might be whitelisting the agents you can use as something that I do as least privilege. In other cases, it might be forcing sandboxing, that everything's done in a sandbox as the way that I can do least privilege. It might be that I'm very careful on data access. What is it that you can actually see to be able to feed it? And so that's what I said is kind of what symptoms are the most important that I can put some guardrails around how the company wants to be able to do this, knowing I can't cure the cold.
All right. There are lots more great questions that just come in. Let's try to get through these as quickly as possible. Here, this one from Devin here. And this, I think this question, you sort of answered the last two things when you talked about Oasis and your last answer here. But please feel free to add to this. There is no way to be able to manage agents without agents. What does the role of the security practitioner do in the future? I think it's kind of what you were just describing is you got to slowly roll them out, start measuring them, start managing them, like putting the, like, this is an ongoing process. There's in the classic world of nothing in cybersecurity is set and forget it. This really is not set and forget it, is it? Yes, Adam?
Yeah, I agree. And I think, there are certain things that agents cannot do still with an agent. And I think one of those areas is what do we deem as an organization to be good and bad, right? So from our perspective, from the security side, again, understanding the boundaries, what is in policy, what isn't in policy, what should be happening, what shouldn't be happening, that's really important to set, right? And then utilities and tools that often will be more and more agentic powered will help us understand the deviations and will help us enforce. But there needs to be an understanding of what to enforce first.
Good point. Steve, what would you add? I mean, just, it's interesting. We keep talking about how, AI is going to take away all these jobs. I'm like, no, the job of managing this is very much a job. Yes, I don't think anything's really going away. It's just shifting like everything has. Don't you agree?
Yeah. Knowledge and insights are relatively uniquely human. Okay. And that's why we need to stay in the loop. So what we can do is get rid of a lot of the drudgery that today we consider part of the job. Mm-hmm. And that allows us to simply focus then on the harder tasks where knowledge and insights, where humans add that unique capability, we can focus on that.
All right, let's get to the next question. Again, good. Tons of questions have come in right here. All right, from this is actually, I think, a pretty good definition, but you tell me. Another one from Logan, because you sort of brought it up at the very beginning, Adam. Is agent access best understood as a combination of least privilege, access control, and task scoped authorization? Yes? Good definition?
I think that's pretty good. I think what it's missing is identifying the agent, right? So the authentication part is missing here.
Well, wouldn't that fall under least privilege or no?
No, so least privilege is more, in my head, it's more tied to task scoped authorization.
Oh, okay.
Right. So what is the agent able to do? That's the authorization. And least privilege falls within that bucket, right? Is it task scoped? Is it not task scoped? How fine-grained is it? But I think identifying the agent is kind of like the missing part here. And this is just like we're able to identify humans and authenticate, just like we're able to identify workloads or scripts or what have you. The same is true for agents.
All right, let me throw this one from Freddie Alvarez because it tags on perfectly for that one, and we'll throw to you, Steve, on this. Are we ready to apply zero trust and least privilege principles to autonomous agents that make dynamic decisions, or do we need a new identity and authorization paradigm specifically designed for agent-based systems? I think the answer is yes. What do you think, Steve?
The answer is yes. The problem is going to be 3 years before we have an answer to that yes. Mm-hmm. So in the meantime, right, like Adam said, what we have to do is the best we can with what we have. Okay. And this question and the prior one really come down to how do we have a conversation with the business as to what security can do as insurance policies against how the business wants to use AI. And that's what we're going to have to be doing for 3 years until we can figure out how to inoculate against the common cold.
Yeah.
But
just to chime in and add on that, I really agree. And I think the comforting thing to me is everyone's thinking very hard on this problem. There's a lot of movements on the standard side, for example. But I think, Steve, you're exactly right. And again, this is what I tell my practitioners that I work with every day, right? That the reality is you are where you are right now. And right now you need a solution, right? So we can't wait for perfect, and we can't let that be the enemy of good in this case, or good enough, or better than where we are, right? And the same is true, by the way, with our NHI side, right? Again, we all know, as an example, we all know that API keys or long-lived credentials, they're like the enemy. We all know that, right? We all know that's the root of all evil as it comes to breaches, right? That's usually what gives attackers the ability to move laterally, for example. But the reality, and there are solutions, right? So there are federation solutions, secretless solutions, et cetera, right? But the reality is the enterprise is where it is. There are secrets, they're hard-coded. It's hard to migrate, right? So I think, again, it's important to refocus on what you can do today and help yourself build that path. And over time, more and more tools will be added that you'll be able to leverage.
So I know we're moving, but I got to say this, which is, here's why it's so exciting right now as a CISO. To go, I don't have the tools, is I get to stop being a helicopter parent to the business and trying to tell it what to do. And I get to embrace free range parenting. I get to rethink what we've been doing and what does free range parenting look like to be able to understand how I give the business a lot more capability, but also a lot more accountability. So let's embrace free range parenting. Next 3 years is going to be awesome.
I think, Steve, the cool point, by the way, there was a question about, this is very similar to cloud, right? To what happened in cloud. We rushed right into it and security lagged behind. I think again, something that to me is great to see now is we're not lagging that much behind with security. We understand how important it is. And security is seen as a partner to the business in enabling this and rolling this out, and not just kind of like something that's coming after the fact and, we'll add some roadblocks or friction, right? So that's really great to see. I really agree with that.
Let me remind people that there is a poll that if you would like to talk to the fine people at Oasis Security about agents and about how to manage them and about how there is not going to be the perfect platform for this for another few years, according to Steve. He's already got the timeline set up on that. Maybe start talking today with somebody who's had experience with it. So please feel free to go click on that poll. Again, it's the little icon on the right that looks like a bar chart. And the link at the bottom, hacking the analyst firms. Go ahead and register for that. We will have 2 analysts on the show talking about essentially the analyst business model and how it's changed And you can all complain, because I know you will complain, about what you do and don't like about analyst firms, because there's a lot of opinions and a lot of feelings during that. And we want to hear all of them, because we are the space for you to complain. That's what we try to do. And remember, if you share that event on LinkedIn and you tag CISO Series, you'll be on that wheel and you could win like Rob won this week. But again, and we'll be playing another game in about 5 minutes or so, and you'll have a chance to win there as well. All right, let us go to the next question, because we have plenty more of them. All right, here. And also,
good week.
Vote up your questions too, so I know, because as they're coming in, I'll look at the ones that are voted up. All right, I haven't even read this, but it comes from Murad Sit. We've mostly abandoned just-in-time access for static NHIs because it was too hard to operationalize. How to enforce least privilege when an agent's access window needs to be measured in milliseconds? And what does a meaningful access policy even look like at that speed? That is a great question. That is something we have not dealt with humans before, have we? Because people can wait a millisecond or two. Right, Adam?
Yeah, for sure. And again, this is, I think, the interesting part of this challenge is what I said earlier about that gap collapsing, right? So how, the gap between potentially being overprivileged and that becoming an issue. With a human, there's an accountability there. If someone does something out of hand with access they have, you slap them on the wrist, or you can hold them accountable. An agent's just going to try to please you, right? They're very task oriented. So yeah, that gap is really hard to solve. I think what I'll say is, in some situations, at least, agents actually can be patient. And not only can they be patient, we can actually learn a lot about what they're trying to do in a way that we didn't really have that fidelity for humans. And I'll give the example, right? When a human requests access to some system, right? It does it via a ticket today or whatever it may be, privilege identity management system. Usually it's going to be, I need it for on-call, or I need it for a thing. And then you're like, okay, maybe, yes, no, fine, I'll take the risk, I'll grant it. That's usually what happens. The nice thing with agents is we can really, in a way, interrogate the agent on what it's trying to do and why. We can really elicit its intent. And that's very helpful in helping us understand what access that maps to and how that maps to what access should be granted to the agent. And I think that's the key to solving this problem, is being able to understand what is the agent actually trying to do and why. Mm-hmm. How does that map to what the agent should be doing, and resolving that to what access the agent gets in real time. I think that's where we're going. It's really exciting. When I first heard these concepts, I was like, whoa, that's pretty futuristic. But it's already happening today.
Well, it makes perfect sense. You say you're going to do this, do that, don't do anything else, pretty much. Mm-hmm. Steve, you're shaking your head? No?
Adam, I appreciate Adam, this is aspirational. If I had a magic wand.
This is a 3-year vision you have, Steve?
Yeah, if I had a magic wand, okay, and I could solve world hunger, we're absolutely right. Now, today I go, remember there's this thing called compensating controls? We need to lean into that hard, because least privilege as a good idea is awesome as a helicopter parent. As a free-range parent, I can't do that. So an example of that is, so we acknowledge we run them in a sandbox. So we let the thing go play, but then we put a human in the loop later on to make sure that the human takes a look at it, that it hasn't gone too far awry. Okay, there's a compensating control to be acknowledged that I can't get least privilege to work yet. Okay, so I do the best I can. What's the compensating control further down to make sure I don't do damage to the business? And we just have to start thinking like that for the next couple of years until Adam's vision comes to fruition.
All right. Let us actually, let's start up the next game. Josh, let's get it. And then while we're starting that up, and in fact, you can show the prize pool, because they are playing for a prize. Let's get up the next game, and I will ask the next question as everybody gets into that. So can we show the next game? Where's the next game? There it is. This is what you're all playing for, a coupon code where you can buy anything from this. including the onesie. All right, put it up. Essentially, we're going to have a game code. We're going to be playing a brand new game, or not a brand new game. It's a game we've played before, but I'll surprise you with it. Classic. Okay, so just type in the code. You'll have fun with this. All right, 457-945. I do not know the answers to these, so enter that and put in your name, and I will ask the next question of our two guests while you're all getting in. All right, this comes from, this was a, from Gary Longsign, who asked this question. The protocols on which the internet is built or was built typically emphasize anonymity as a value. In a world of agents or bots, do we have the baseline infrastructure we need to enforce an identity boundary between humans and agents? We totally don't, do we? Adam, Steve, either one of you jump. We don't have a. This is like classic security. We have to layer it on top of it, right? Yes, Adam?
I do agree. This is about layering on top. And again, I also think there's a very big separation or gap between agents, acting in the internet freely on behalf of a specific human and agents operating in an enterprise setting. And I think in an enterprise setting, yes, like there will need to be another layer that allows us to identify what this agent is doing, at least to some extent. Because otherwise, again, we won't be able to put any compensating controls if we're not able to pinpoint what it is we're trying to control in the first place. So yeah, I do agree.
So the challenge here is what we were talking about earlier, which was a year ago, a digital twin or a synthetic human was not an expressible concept. We didn't even have it in our vocabulary because what the agents could do with LLM, was relatively primitive. And so now that this is becoming practical with is how smart it's call it smart, one of the things we have to do is get comfortable going, look, if I have a synthetic human that represents 100 doctors' best practices, or I have a digital twin that represents my pediatrician's best practices, that's a conversation that wasn't expressible 6 months ago. So now what we're starting to understand is, are we talking to a human? Are we talking to a digital identity? In that digital identity, what type of identity is it that we're creating these new concepts to be able to then figure out what the interaction requirements look like? And that's, again, where I'm saying, so we got to do the best we can. But when we're having conversations that weren't expressible even 6 months ago, we are way ahead of our skis.
All right, good point. All right, it looks like everybody's in. Are you, by the way, Steve and Adam, you're in? Yes?
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, let's play. This game is...
Which password is most popular?
You're going to see a number of passwords. You want to know which one is more overused. This comes from the Have I Been Pwned database. So there's a lot of passwords that are heavily abused. You just have to tell me which one's more popular. Okay? Again,
if I see mine up here, I'm going to be mad at you. Okay? I'm just going to say.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Did you pick one? Robot or machine? Remember what you see on the screen. Essentially, the red and the blue, or whatever the colors at the bottom. Incorrect. It was machine. I thought it'd be robot.
Wow. That's shocking to me, honestly.
Yeah, I totally thought it would be robot. All right. JSS. I'm 0 for 1 already. Not good. Look at that. Now, the lower number is what you want. You want higher ranked. So, yeah, look at that, how far away robot is from machine. There you go. So it's 1,199th thousand. All right, let's go.
Okay.
Let's go. It looks like we got 5 questions here.
If I see password 1, 2, 3.
I am human. All right. I'm feeling good about this one because I've seen this one done before. Oh, I so thought it was I am human. I
Me
so
too.
thought it was that.
This is so surprising to me.
Yeah.
Well, what it says, Adam, is people are, quote, smarter than you think.
I guess so.
Look at, they're pretty reasonably close.
They're pretty
I
close.
am human and non-human.
Still, that
But just
kills me.
This is also what's amazing. Look how big this database is. They got hundreds of thousands of overused passwords.
It's wow. I'm liking this game.
Oh, God. I hope I got this one right. I don't want to be 0 for 3 here. I am 0 for friggin' 3.
There you go. See?
They're not doing
This
nearly
is
The
like
highest
as well as
highs
they
to
did
the
last.
lowest lows, David.
Exactly.
That's, yeah, you can be the best of the worst. There you go. See, I'm going to make you there.
Look at that. Also reasonably close there. Reasonably.
That is so interesting because I look at this through the eyes of having, had so many social engineering attacks and people. You're like, so how are they thinking?
Yeah, well, the public always surprises us, always.
Always. I will share with you offline at Levi's. I'll tell you later what the most popular password at Levi's was.
I finally got one answer correct. You can't tell us all right now what the most popular password at Levi's was?
I can't because it's probably still the most popular password. Okay?
Oh, it's got to be something it's got to be like jeans. Is it like jeans? Something stupid like that?
You're on the right track. Okay?
No, that's what I thought.
Yes.
Or denim.
Better
maybe.
than admin 123 at least.
Yeah. It's going to be jeans. Oh, that's very close there. Super secret and secret. So I finally got one correct.
That's
definitely not enough to win. All right, let's see who the winner is. Let's go. Oh, no, we got one more. One more question. I'm sorry. One more. I hope I delayed on that one. Oh,
these were really
Bob
hard.
would have been my last guess, and it's only 2 people got that right.
Wow.
501 Classic. That's what Rich thinks is it.
501 Classic?
Yeah. Spybot much lower. Now, this is a shock to me.
Yeah,
I
me too.
did not see ServBot doing that well. Again, well at the 266,000th ranking.
Come on, and Spybot. Wow, I learned something today.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right, let's see how we doing. Number 3, who is a loser, doesn't want secret AI agent.
Wow.
Also good password. Paul, another good password.
Oh.
But number 1, 4 out of 5. I'm impressed with Ken.
Wow.
Way to go, Ken.
Way to go, Ken.
We will email you the coupon code and
That's it.
the
We're
link.
bowing to Ken.
To
Okay?
get, that was 4 out of 5. That was a super tough one. I am way impressed, Ken.
Now I'm wondering if Ken is that good. Was he the guilty one of using all of these passwords that he knew that they were the right ones?
Do you think Ken has hundreds of thousands of accounts? Because you would need hundreds of thousands of accounts to be able to use all these. Okay. So we got lots more questions here.
Everybody's guessing the password for Levi's. That was pretty good, guys.
There you go. Okay, I want to go with this question. Oh, wait. I'm going to go with this question from who threw in the last one? All right, this is really, really long. I'm not going to even post it because it's going to be long. This comes from Isabella Boggs. Just so we can see her name. Yeah, but this is long. Okay, just bear with me. You described Agentic AI as an 11-year-old savant who hyper-focuses and breaks social norms and framed governance as managing a cold. At Undiar's A Road to ACE Waypoint 2 this morning, Dr. Christopher Angson demonstrated that governance frameworks built on undefined terms enforce compliance against a moving standard. If we cannot even stabilize the definition target inside NATO, how are we stabilizing autonomy, intent, or accountability for agentic systems and digital twins? So anyways, I'm trying to, this is quite long. I did not read this beforehand, but just summarizing, if we're already having problems with this, how are we going to stabilize autonomy, intent, and accountability, things that we've all been discussing so far, for agentic systems and digital twins operating across enterprise environments? And if the answer is that we have not, then the CISO is not managing a cold. The CISO is inheriting liability for a system whose decision boundaries were never defined. All right. Isabella is putting together a very, very big thing. So what does your governance model look like? Let's just boil it down to this question. What does your governance model look like? I'll start with you, Steve. When the agent acts outside a boundary that was never drawn. All right. Thank you from Isabella. Next time, shorter question, but thank you. This is good. All right, go ahead.
Well done, Isabella. You did a nice job. And here's the key. AI is so sexy that everybody's using it, okay? And we're not taking the time to understand what the implications are because everybody just says it's cool or the business that we got to do it. Security is kind of on
sure
the,
is dazzling. Yes,
it's dazzling. Okay, and here's what it is. It's so good that it is completely disrupting kind of the social fabric of how we think and what we do, and we don't know how good it is yet. And security at this point is pretty much on the bench because it's moving so fast and it's introducing new things. What's security do? We can't tell you, no, you can't use it, okay? And we have very limited capability for what it can do because we don't know yet. And so what I appreciate for everybody was, let's do free range parenting, right? What I'm trying to do is do the same thing to say, well, as a security practitioner, I have to get in front of the business and say, this is the limits to what I can do to protect you. And we're going to accept all the rest of the risk because you're not going to listen to me if I say no. And now that you're going to go do it, this is the best I can do. It is incredibly uncomfortable, but it is what it is. That's my 2 cents.
All right, good 2 cents. By the way, I want to remind everybody 2 things. Click the link at the bottom to register for next week's event. And we also have the poll still live. It can be up even during our post-show meetup, which I hope many of you are sticking around for. Stick around the post-show meetup because that poll will still be live so you can get the nice handoff. All right, Adam, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, this is a tough one, right? Because we are definitely in uncharted territory.
Right.
I think I do agree that there's going to have to be, there's a balance here, right? On the one hand, organizations are moving very fast on this, not only because of the FOMO. I do think it's a big contributor, though, but also because there is legitimate value, right? That's
yes.
That's I think part of the challenge here, right? But I also completely agree with what Steve is saying in that there are going to be challenges that we just do not know how to solve right now. Because again, this morphs, right? Every month, the capabilities change, right? What is possible changes.
Right.
And it literally happens every month, right? So it is very hard to keep
we've been
up.
watching it for the past 2 years. Very much
Yeah.
so. 3 years. What am I saying? For the past 3 years. So yeah, there's no question. Like the line that just I think was it last week or 2 weeks ago, we had Howard, last week was Howard Holton. He made who's the CEO of GigaOM. He made the line. He goes, "The version you see of AI today is the worst version you're going to ever see."
Yeah.
Good point. It's only getting better.
Yes, and I think to that point, again, I do think there are going to be the boundaries that we know how to protect. I think, David, you might have said this in the past, in maybe a past episode, where it's like there's a problem because if we see something and we don't know how to solve it, then we're in even worse of a problem in a way. I believe it was something to that extent. And so I do think we're going to have to, we're going to be in some uncomfortable territories where we're going to see things that we don't necessarily know how to protect. But I do think at a basic level, there are some maybe coarse tools that we can use to apply to the problem. Again, they're not going to be perfect solutions, right? Like mitigating, write access from an agent, for just as an example, it's not a perfect solution. But does it solve the problem of an agent accidentally dropping a database? It does, right? So it is a limiting factor. I do think, by the way, just to complete that thought, another thing that's interesting here for us as security practitioners is, in many ways, a lot of the challenges are not necessarily security risks. They're operational risks. There's something happening that shouldn't have happened, which I think, again, makes this even more challenging because it's not necessarily an attacker getting access to data, not only at least, but it's also, data loss because someone dropped the database by accident. Again, makes it even more interesting.
All right, we have 5 minutes and we have more questions, and I need to wrap this up in just a few minutes, but hang tight. I got some more stuff. Let me just quickly say, stick around for our meetup. Everyone just stay where you are. If you, I think, type in like "bring me on" or something during it, I think our producer Josh will physically bring you on if you can't do it yourself. This thing's with the post-show meetup slightly in beta. Anyways, huge thanks to Adam and Oasis for sponsoring this. Again, if you have not gone to the little bar chart poll, clicked on that to get a nice warm handoff to the people at Oasis, go ahead and do that now, and they can help you with this very discussion. After this, later today, we at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, we have Rob Dunwood and David Cross on our show.
Good people.
Department of No, phenomenal.
Good
security
people.
Professionals. We highly recommend sticking around for that. And as I said, stick around for our meetup. Just stay where you are. Register for next week's event. And would you like to sponsor Super Cyber Friday? Well, just email us at info@cisoseries.com. We've got a lot of availability for the show, and we'd love to have you on. All right. We have very little time left. In fact, we have 4 minutes left. I'm going to hopefully get 3 questions in, but Steve, I'm going to start with you, Steve. What is something we did not talk about that we should have been talking about on today's show?
That human in the loop is really coming down to who's going to take the blame, and that the CISO needs to make sure for what they can do that they don't accept blame for any of that.
That's a good point. By the way, we can discuss it in our post-show meetup, and there's a ton of questions. I'm happy to go through all these questions in our post-show meetup too, so stick around for that because there's plenty more to go. All right, Adam, what did we not talk about that we should have been talking about?
Yeah, so one, I was going to say accountability, but that's very much what Steve said.
Yeah.
I do think the other thing that we didn't talk about as much yet, again, there's a lot of focus on agents. In practice, in most organizations, we all know the floodgates are open and it's about to come. But there are these challenges that are already in our perimeter, right? Mm-hmm. That we did, and the non-human identity challenge is here, and now it's just going to avalanche. It's just going to get even worse. So I think what's important to think of, and what we didn't chat about very much in this session, is how do you solve this again from a foundational level? Because if you have a problem on the non-human identity side today, it's just going to get a lot worse now as agents are rolling into the enterprise.
All right. Here's my question. This was the third. Those were my first 2 questions, but this is my third question for you, Adam, and specifically for you. I believe, here's my theory on all this. I think we all need to see other people's failures so we're more comfortable. So we can watch other people fail at this, and it's going to happen. We're going to see it. And we're going to see the gem. My question is, do you create environments where you cause failures to see what the heck could happen and what's happening? Yes, Adam, or no?
Yeah, so our researchers do that a lot, testing the boundaries, testing the limits, understanding the failure modes. Because I agree, that allows us to build the correct compensating controls. And so, a lot of them are, sorry, go ahead, David.
So what have you learned from failures, I guess, like in your test environments?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is a lot of the failure modes are the boring, predictable ones. Mm-hmm. It might be disappointing of an answer, but in the end, it goes back to the it's a dormant account that's just sitting there, and all of a sudden somebody finds it and they leverage it doing something unexpected, right? So it's an expected failure mode in a way, and we have seen it obviously many times before in different breaches and different breach patterns. Mm-hmm. But I think it's still the most common, right? So while our research team and many other research team is kind of looking for the cutting edge art of the possible with new technologies, I think a lot of the failure modes are the boring ones, the ones that have existed for a very long time and that everyone just goes ahead and leans on.
All right. We are coming to the end of the show. Here's what I want everybody to do. Stay exactly where you are. Turn on your cameras, turn on your microphones right now because we want you to stick around for the meetup. We got a lot more questions to go through, but I'm happy to discuss whatever the heck that is you want. We'll just do a post-show meetup for a half hour. Huge thanks to Steve Zalewski and to Adam Ochayon. Am I pronouncing the last name right?
Yes? Absolutely, yes.
All right. With Oasis Security, huge thanks to Oasis, and thank you, everybody, for showing up for today's event. Tell your friends, share next week's event, and you could win an awesome prize from the CISO Series store. All right, Josh, our producer, huge thanks to him as well.